I will be presenting one example of a corporate water replenishment project, the Zero Draw program in Heracleion, Crete. It was implemented by GWP-Med in collaboration with the municipality of Heracleion and funded by the Coca-Cola Foundation and Coca-Cola HBC. So the challenge there, the local challenge, and this is always the starting point. So what is the local need? What is the problem facing the local community? Was that very simply the water being distributed to the fields for agricultural irrigation was facing, the network was facing very frequent damages, as you can see exactly in the picture here. It is actually a network of treated wastewater coming from the city of Heracleion. So it's treated wastewater, it's treated to the tertiary degree and then distributed to the fields for irrigation. This is a great practice, a great non-conventional water resource practice that saves on fresh water and groundwater. But here the problem was obvious. So this program was designed to save millions of liters of water through its technical interventions, which we'll see in a minute, at the same time aiming to save energy because of the water that is not wasted and therefore is not pumped to no effect. Also reducing CO2 emissions, which are estimated to 30 tons a year, and also disseminating best practices on water management, raising awareness, as well as educating the next generation through an experiential approach. The technical intervention essentially replaced the existing piping at the last section of the reclaimed irrigation water distribution network with piping of much higher technical specifications. This was actually a challenging project because, as you can see here, the slopes are very steep, so it's an operation that is quite demanding. And the result immediately following the application was the saving of almost 11 million liters of water per year, because the damages were actually happening on a weekly basis. The technical intervention, the second part, concerned the pumping stations at the community of Voutes. So there, because of the very old equipment, as you can see in the photo above, it was a case of instability in the system, causing again outages and damages. And so new equipment was installed with inverters for energy efficiency. And the result was again saving water, 1 million liters a year, saving energy and reducing the carbon footprint. And finally, the third component, the third leg of the technical intervention was a more advanced, more innovative component, which essentially through installing smart technology powered through solar energy and remote control systems, now the authorities can actually make sure that the pumping stations communicate with the systems installed at the boreholes and the collection and distribution tanks. So essentially there is communication all along the water distribution network, and this allows the regulation of the pressure in the system. And this is very important to actually prevent damages coming from changes in the pressure or very sudden, very high pressure in the system. Now, a very different component, but very important for the sustainability and ultimate success of the project, is awareness raising. One feature that we have seen throughout all our projects in all local communities is that water is never enough unless supply measures are critical, they're necessary, but unless people value water and reduce demand, whether at home or in the agricultural field or in industry, then therefore otherwise there can never be enough water, because demand is always increasing, needs are always increasing, and it's very easy actually to waste water. So in collaboration with the municipality of Heracleion, a special information leaflet was designed that was distributed to virtually all the households in the city. Another very important component that was implemented in collaboration with the MEDIS team was a custom-made snakes and ladders water conservation game, which you can see in the picture here. So here it is the question of helping students not just through imparting theory and knowledge, but also inviting them to play a game and compete against each other, and the teams that answer the right questions, the questions in the right way about how to save water, what are good practices, and what are some basic facts about the cycle of water, they can progress faster along the ladders and therefore win the game. And at the same time, the Medis team also designed a special leaflet. So this shows the integrated aspect of the project, because what it is around the technical intervention that was implemented in Heracleion. There was also a whole story built, a whole narrative, and a whole explanation on the cycle of water and how important it is to conserve it, and what options there are, what the technologies are, but also around explaining something very tangible and concrete that happened in their city, in their wider area. Also, capacity building was a critical component. So we brought farmers together with experts to discuss what are the needs and challenges in the agricultural water sector, what can be done. As we said before, there's always a growing demand, and unless this is managed properly, and we heard, for example, that there are ways to limit very much the water consumption of the water needs of olive trees, which are ubiquitous in Crete, but there are ways, smart ways to monitor, and then humidity and the actual needs for what is called deficit irrigation, and the result can be great produce with much smaller water use. And finally, another component implemented by the project, because involving the industry, because industry is always an important part of an integrated solution to water challenges. This concerned a study in the industrial area of Heracleion, aiming to assess how can the effluent of one industry, so the wastewater from one industry, from one factory, be actually used productively as an input in another factory that does not need high quality drinking water in its process. It is quite happy to use non-potable water. And so we assessed what would be the requirements in terms of the network installed, in terms of the quantity and quality of the reclaimed water, and actually also building the economic case. So what would be the cost, a feasible cost that industries would pay, of course with a very, very high saving in terms of water from fresh water or groundwater. So a very great benefit.